Well, it was a big night for Barack Obama. Of course, nationally, he and Hillary Clinton are still in a tight race. Illinois did what it was expected to do. Not necessarily surprising, but Obama did get, last numbers I saw, about 2/3 of the vote in Illinois, which means he'll also probably get at least 2/3 of the Illinois delegates going to the national convention. That's a good prize on a night when, some more than 20 states were up for grabs in the primary or caucus system. In Sangamon County, which perhaps second to Chicago knows Barack Obama better than other parts of the state because he worked in the state legislature here, he got about 3/4 of the vote. So that was a very solid showing as results were coming in. Those aren't final, but that trend was there all night. And that certainly bodes well for him. The county Democratic Party was for Obama in Springfield, Sangamon County, and you didn't get a lot for Hillary Clinton. There were some strong supporters in and around town, but by far this was Obama territory, as Illinois proved to be. And interestingly, in Obama's speech in Chicago, he mentioned his announcement of the presidency almost a year ago on the steps of the old state capitol, talking about a house divided cannot stand, and saying that this message is now sweeping across the cornfields of Iowa and onto the rest of the country. So the visual image that his campaign achieved by coming to the old state capitol in the first place is something that helped make his lyrical presentation of the results of Tuesday night something to try to make people remember and continue on his message as it is. On the Republican side, Sangamon County also went along with the rest of Illinois. It turned out to be John McCain territory. It's interesting because Rudy Giuliani seemed to have strength in this territory and in this state. You had not only former governors Jim Edgar and Jim Thompson for Rudy Giuliani, but you also had groups, including the Sangamon County Republican Party, that went for him. Of course, he was supposed to be in Springfield just last weekend, but because he did so poorly in the Florida primary, having banked all of his kind of campaign expertise, or banking his entire campaign, putting all of his eggs in that basket of the Florida primary, after he took, I think it was third place in that and significantly behind the leaders, he dropped out, didn't come to Springfield. We had a snowstorm in Springfield, and Giuliani threw support to McCain. Others went to back McCain, some of those politicians, and McCain did quite well in the state. It was in Sangamon County, it was about 42% to McCain for 34% for Romney as results were coming in. Statewide, McCain also made it easy. The Associated Press called that race shortly after 7 o'clock. They called Obama the winner of the Democrats, McCain the winner of the Republicans. It was a big night for McCain all over the country. Mitt Romney has some strength. State Senator Dan Rutherford of Pontiac helped lead his team. Former House Speaker Denny Hastert from Plano, Illinois, was strongly against McCain and for Romney, but this was not a Romney state. He was not as well known here. McCain has a long record, has run before, and proved that this was his territory as well. Elsewhere in the campaign scene, the most significant race in central Illinois, other than presidential, of course, was for the Republican nomination for the 18th Congressional District, where Ray LaHood is not seeking another term, and 3 Republicans were vying for the opportunity to be the Republican candidate in that district, which has most of its population closer to Peoria, but includes a part of Springfield. And Aaron Schock, who is 26 years old and the youngest state representative in Illinois, who has served, is in the middle of his second 2-year term in the Illinois House, put together just kind of an amazing group of endorsements, raised a lot of money, went to Washington and raised money, advertised, and really kind of swept things away. And he was the overwhelming winner in that race. It didn't always look like it might be that way. His 27-page announcement speech was something to behold because it took something like 40 minutes to deliver, and it included a lot of foreign policy talk that seemed like a congressional candidate wouldn't want to get that specific, including the possibility at some point of selling nuclear weapons to Taiwan, which was something he had to take back. However, Jim McConaughey, a business development expert from Peoria, and John Morris, who is a former city council member in Peoria. Both tried to run as alternatives to Schock, except that they were all very close on their policy issues. The other two candidates never really criticized Schock severely, other than kind of snide comments from Morris in some of the debates that they had. And they had a tremendous number of debates, something over 25, either forums or debates that they all appeared at. Most of the time, a candidate who is in the lead or is an incumbent, and Schock kind of played that role this time, even though he's not the incumbent, does not benefit from all of these joint appearances. In this case, because they all had similar views and the Schock was able to present himself just as a knowledgeable guy, and the other two candidates did not take him on severely on any of these issues that they might have. They actually seemed to work to Schock's advantage because his name was better known, and he just carried the day. The Democrats do not have a candidate for that yet because Dick Versace, the Democratic candidate who had announced and is a former basketball coach in the NBA and at Bradley University, dropped out of the race midstream. The Democrats do have the opportunity to appoint a candidate to the November ballot, but not until after the primary, and of course the primary is now over, so that can happen within the next 60 days, and we'll see if they get somebody to take on Aaron Schock, and we'll see where that goes. That is the most interesting race in this area because it's an open seat because of Ray LaHood's departure from the House coming next January. In the 19th Congressional District, you do have an incumbent, John Shimkus, who is running for a 7th term, which does break an initial pledge he made for a 12-year self-imposed term limit when he first won that seat back in '96. It was the old Dick Durbin seat when Durbin went on to Congress. Actually, they've had redistricting since then. It used to be the old 20th district. It's now the 19th. There are only 19 congressional districts in Illinois. But Shimkus is running for another term. President Bush actually asked him to stay in Congress, reconsider, and run for another term. And Shimkus announced this a couple of years ago, so it was no surprise that he was running again. There were two Democrats running. One was Joe McMenamin, who is in the Army National Guard and is a lawyer in Springfield, and Daniel Davis, who is a younger person. He's in his 20s, and he took a leave of absence working for the State Department of Public Health to run, and McMenamin seemed to have most of the organizational support and raised something over $100,000, but really did no advertising and was hoping that having county chairmen endorse him and county organizations, including that in Sangamon County, would carry the day for him. As it turned out, Daniel Davis, who claimed that he's a Harrisburg native, he's always lived, at least most of his life, within the district, the 19th. Of course, it has been reconfigured in recent years, but that was part of his campaign, was that he was a person who knows these people. And perhaps because he has a name that was more ballot-friendly than McMenamin, and neither of them advertised, Daniel Davis seemed to score a significant win, and he will be taking on John Shimkus. It is a Republican-leaning district, so it is an uphill battle to start with, so Daniel Davis will have an uphill climb from here to take on John Shimkus in November. All in all, a very interesting day. In Sangamon County, the turnout was something about 28 or 29%, last numbers I saw as they were coming in. County Clerk Joe Illino had predicted that perhaps 35% of registered voters would come out, but it did rain a lot, I happen to know, because waiting to talk to some voters, I had to stand in the rain for about 10 minutes, and luckily I had an umbrella. But it was a very rainy day, but as Joe Illino, who's a Republican, said, people were quite energized, in particular about the fact that one of the main presidential candidates is a Democratic U.S. Senator from Illinois who announced in Springfield.